I have many weaknesses, and many people in the room could recount them, but one of them is I've learned over the years I can never write out a speech and give it. I learned even when I testify in front of committees, I've learned that everything I do, I have to do extemporaneous. That if I start reading, then I become extemporaneous, and then I can never find where I was. It just doesn't work. And so part of that weakness is when if you don't write anything out, but you typically I jot some notes and kind of know what I want to say and have a direction to go. But if you don't write them out, and you're my age, and you've been talking around as much as I have, sometimes you don't remember what you said where. And that's always a bit of a risk. And when I was saying about the theme of celebrating community, I wanted to tell a story which I think connects a lot to that theme. And it's a story I stole from somebody who cannot retaliate, because I think he passed away probably 30 years ago. And he was a person by the name of Mark Gold, who some of the old people in the room may remember him. He was pretty well known in our field back then. Anyway, so stealing a story from him. So he got a call, and an old college buddy was coming into town, and on a Saturday night. So the two of them went out, and they went out to Vito's Pizza, and this was in New Jersey. And the thing about Vito's Pizza was they had a garlic and olive pizza. It was just incredible. They used the whole garlic. They didn't slice them up. They just piled the garlic on that pizza, and lots of olives, and truly something to behold. So they spent the whole evening there eating pizza, recounting those college days. Rumor is even maybe had a beer or two to help wash down that pizza. Got home really late. Just took off the clothes, hopped into bed, forgot to set the alarm in the morning, which was Sunday morning. Wakes up, looks at the clock, sees needs to be in church in 20 minutes, and remembers he's the greeter. He's the person greeting everybody as they come in. So the one thing he knows, not going to have time to eat, man. He jumps in the shower, and the last thing he needs to do before he goes to church is brush those teeth, because that garlic from the night before is really hanging heavy. So opens up the little medicine cabinet to grab the toothpaste, and there ain't no toothpaste in that medicine cabinet. He thinks, holy cow, that's right, I kind of finished that up yesterday. I was supposed to pick up some. So he goes and he grabs the toothpaste out of the trash can and thinks, man, if I unroll it, and again, this was in the day. Now today all the toothpaste is in plastic, but in those days, remember, it was in that kind of aluminum stuff or tin stuff or whatever it was. So he thought, if I unroll this all the way and then roll it back up, I ought to be able to get enough toothpaste out of there to brush my teeth. So he does it and squeezes it, and nothing. He still can't get any toothpaste out of there. So he thinks, I'm going to run downstairs. He runs downstairs and he does it again and brings it as tight and uses a pliers that he got out of there to squeeze and try to get just enough out. And it kind of came to the top so he could see a little bit, but it wasn't coming out. So he went down in the basement on his workbench and he put it in the vise, and he cranked that vise while he was holding his toothbrush under it, and he got just enough toothpaste out of there so he could brush his teeth. So the point of the story is that the quality of the toothpaste that came out of that tube is exactly the same quality of toothpaste that comes out of a full tube. And that people are a lot like tubes of toothpaste. Some of us, our skills and our abilities come out with absolutely no problem. Doesn't take any work, and a lot of us in this room, or some of us may be in that category, where whatever we do works out all right, and learning comes easy to us. And then there's others of us that take a lot of work to get that quality out, and a lot of support, and a lot of creativity, and even some technology once in a while to get that out. But that when it comes out, that quality from each of us is equal. And so, some of us from a religious tradition might say it's part of that theology that all of us are created in God's image, and so we are all equal in that way. But if we believe that, and so I used to work for a church-related organization, and I was doing an article on kind of community and disability. And in the church I was attending, we had 2 new folks who had come to our church in the last 6 months. And one of them was a school teacher, really a creative guy who had a lot of skills, abilities, interest. And then the other person was one of the folks from the group home that I was working in at that time. And so I thought, this would be interesting. We talk about equality, talk about community. So I asked the 2 people at 2 different times. I asked the guy from who was the teacher and had a lot of skills. I said, hey, how many times have people invited you out to dinner since you visited church? And he'd had 6 invitations. And then I asked the person with disabilities who had started attending about the same time, so how many times were you invited out to somebody's house for dinner? And it was 0. So again, it's that whole thing about how we include people and how we look at carrying out what we believe, which is we think we're all equal, but how do we work at including? And so I'll come back after I wanted to talk about a few things that not I have accomplished, but I think we as a field have accomplished, and that I think are important things to remember as we move forward. So the first thing that Saul alluded to, I hate to have to repeat everything he said, but I think he mumbled at some point, so I'll restate them. Was that when I came in, and one of the things that there was a ton of conflict in this field, and I think the conflict was keeping all of us from solving problems. And the other fear was that if everybody's fighting up here, how can it be a good community for folks with disabilities to be living in?